Guten Tag, hello. My name is Matthew Toogood. I'm a conductor and a pianist, and I'm based in Berlin, in Germany, but I studied German at the University of Melbourne. It was part of my Bachelor of Arts degree that I was doing at the same time as a Bachelor of Music, and I sort of always had it in my mind that Germany would be part of my career trajectory, just simply because as a classical musician, Germany really seems to be the mecca of where things are happening. When I was still studying at the University of Melbourne, I was the recipient of a DAAD scholarship, which allowed me to do a sort of winter course in Essen, in west of Germany. Although previously in high school, where I had already started learning German, I also went to school in Bavaria, again for an exchange program. So I already had some association with Germany and knew sort of a little bit of the culture when I finally decided to make the move after my master's in Melbourne to move to Germany and find a job here. I worked for a short time at the Oper in Frankfurt before landing a permanent position at the Komische Oper in Berlin. And I was very keen on moving to Berlin because it was a very exciting city. And the Komische Oper always had some very interesting artistic productions. And so it was my first real full-time job. And at the time, the Komische Oper still performed every opera, whether it was originally a German opera or an Italian or French opera. They would perform all the operas in German, and they would have a translation that they would use. As well as that, the entire operation of the theatre was in German. It was a very heavy German organization at the time. And so my understanding of not just German language, but also the technical and musical language in German became very, very fluent and was very much important to my work. And what I now do as a conductor is also influenced by that a lot because my working language is German. Working with orchestras in Germany or German-speaking countries, of course, a lot of people now can speak English or have other languages, but for efficiency and just operational use, it's much easier if you can speak German fluently. One kind of interesting anecdote from my time at Frankfurt Oper was as a pianist, and the conductor of the rehearsal just pointed to me and said, S. And a little bit of cross-communication because I didn't know whether he meant to start from figure S, Ziffer S in the music, or whether he was referring to some text that the singers had to sing, which would have been S wird etwas gelingen, or whatever. And instead it turned out to be that he wanted me to play a single note, a single pitch, which was E flat, which in German they say S. So those sorts of things can throw you initially, but of course it's all part of learning. I also worked in different parts of Germany, such as in Mannheim. I was a Kapellmeister, which, because of just the simple pace of how many operas we were performing in each season and how fast the work was going, it was pretty much imperative to be able to speak German for an operational point of view, of efficiency, of scheduling, working out the daily plan with colleagues and being able to rehearse very efficiently because the directors from the house would be German, and so it just makes life a lot easier to be able to speak the language of the country that you're in. What I've also found in my comprehension of German is that a lot of the operas that I do conduct and that are part of my repertoire are German operas. And so having an understanding of German, not just how to speak it, but really an understanding of the words and the meanings, gives me an opportunity to really understand the works themselves at a much deeper level. During my undergraduate degree, within the German course, there were also extra subjects that one could take, such as Middle-aged German and also Dutch at the time, which actually proved to be quite invaluable in terms of then working in other parts of Germany or other German-speaking countries, because I've also worked in Switzerland with Schweizerdeutsch, which is obviously very different to Hochdeutsch, and so that very much helped me integrate into Switzerland for the few years that I was there. And just recently I've started working in Austria as well, which also has a different accent to Hochdeutsch, but understanding the etymology of German language has made that far more easier to grasp and be able to compensate. I guess one of the biggest culture shocks that a lot of Australians encounter when they move to Germany is just the level of bureaucracy that goes on. I'm quite sure that Germany invented red tape because they're very good at it, but it's sometimes to the detriment of anything that resembles efficiency because it can really hold things up. However, again, if you're able to communicate in German, whether it's proficient or just trying, it's often welcomed by those particular bureaucrats working because they can tell that you are trying to integrate, and that with just a little bit of proficiency, you're then able to make a lot quicker steps towards getting perhaps your visa or getting your Anmeldung on all sorts of other things. But it does come as a bit of a culture shock compared to what we experience in Australia. I think also a little bit of a culture shock that Australians experience when they first come over is that you don't have a lot of small talk, particularly not with strangers. Maybe with colleagues you will have more, but with strangers, everyone pretty much will keep to themselves. And if you ask someone, wie geht's, how are you going, you shouldn't expect sort of a small answer of just it's fine or okay. No, if you ask someone wie geht's, then you will find out how they actually are. And if they're having a bad day, they will tell you all about it. And if you're having a good day, they'll tell you why it's a good day. But it's not meant as sort of a small talk greeting. It's meant as a question. In conclusion, for the arts, I think Germany is definitely worth exploring, and the opportunities, the careers in Germany are vast and varied, but particularly for the arts is very healthy.